Hello guys, this is Krishna. Thank you for joining me in this new video. What we're gonna see is how you can back up your WordPress website. We're mostly gonna look at the plugin that I use, but there is a couple things that I wanna point out as well, and we're gonna be able to dive into that. So I am over here in my Cloudways panel, right, of the WordPress application that I've just used, that I've just spin up. So I highly recommend it. I don't know what web host you're using. If it's working well for you, great. If you're looking at another web host, I would recommend that you check out Cloudways. That's the one I'm using now. Is that it's been good to me. Really reliable, no downtime. Really flexible as far as pricing. You're gonna find in my account I have many other videos about Cloudways, but you're gonna find here a referral link in the description. You're gonna find a referral link over here. It's gonna give you a free trial, but as well, you're gonna look over here. There is a promo code if you want to get 10% off for the first 3 months of your subscription. If you decide to go that way, it is available there. So let's jump in here and we're gonna see how we can back up our WordPress site. So with WordPress, it is really, I think it's paramount to have a way to back up your website because you're installing many plugins. You're gonna have a conflict at some point, right? So you want to have a way to go back to a certain milestone. Let's say you work on maybe setting up your blog page, right, or how your blog post is gonna look, and you're really pleased with that. You want to make sure that you save it, or basically the way of saving that is to do a backup, and so when you move forward, maybe if you have a conflict later on, you can come back to a point where you're pleased with, and you can go back from there. The other way, so you have issue with plugins with WordPress, you also have um, different robots that run bots that run a haiku and maybe install malware on your WordPress. So maybe there is a malware on your WordPress site and you're trying to debug it and you're not able to do that, right? You can go back to a point where it was malware free, right? So over here, this is the default theme of WordPress. So let's go over here. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna log in, and I'm just using the default credential that's been provided to me over here by Cloudways, right? And it takes basically a couple minutes for Cloudways to generate that for us. So I am over here in my WordPress account, and what I'm going to do is the first thing that we're going to look at is how you can back up using a plugin, right? I think that works as far as efficiency. I don't know if it's really the best, but depending on what web host you're using, it could be the only solution that you have. So I'm gonna come up here. I'm gonna go to plugins, and we're gonna get into that. I'm gonna go to plugins, and I'm gonna click over here on add new, right? When I'm over here, what I'm just gonna do is I'm gonna type backup. Okay. So you're gonna see over here we have different options, but the one that usually comes all the way to the top, or that's a clear winner most of the time, is gonna be the Updraft Plus over here WordPress backup. Some of the other ones over here you have Jetpack, but Jetpack it does many other things, right? This one is just for backup, and you see over here just the number of installation and the number of reviews over here left. It's working. It worked great, right? So for the longest time, I still use that, but for the longest time that was my only option. So and he has saved me quite a bit as well. So I'm gonna go over here. We're gonna go over here. We're gonna click install now, and we're gonna go and click activate. Okay. So now it is activated, and you wanna go tell us to go through this tool over here. We don't want to do that. I mean, depending on if you want to do that or not, but I'm gonna walk you through that. Basically saying, we can go to the settings over here, but as well you're gonna find it over here in settings. It's gonna be over here, and we're gonna click on Updraft Plus over here. Okay. So in this first tab that we have over here, what it's gonna show us is gonna be when the next backup is gonna happen. This is what you're gonna show here. You're gonna see here for the files and for the database. So you have different ways of, you can either save just the files on your WordPress account over here, or you can as well save the database. Usually I just save both, right? You can over here make a manual backup, right? So that it would be in a case where maybe you worked on, maybe you, let's say you created a new blog post and you like, you know what, this is a pillar post, I really want to save it, I don't want to lose it. You're gonna come up here and make a backup, so it's gonna be in your account there, in your backup, that this post was saved as well, right? So this is there, and if there is any backups that you already done in the past, it's gonna show up here. The migrate clone over here, you don't need to worry about that. That is really if you have another, you want to move this part of this website to another website. That's not really too important for us. We're gonna come up here and we're gonna come to settings. Before I come to settings over here, I want to point out that the backup, the draft plus backup that we have over here is just a free option. You don't need to pay anything extra, but they do have a premium option available, and with the premium it gives you additional things. So if we look over here, couple things. So you have incremental backups happening. So incremental backups will be at every time that you uh, changing a file, the backup is happening, right? You have multiple storage destinations. So in the version that we have there, the free version, basically it's just you're just allowed to save it to one location, right? So you could either maybe choose Google Cloud or maybe Amazon or Dropbox only, but over here you could choose all of those three. You have a little bit more redundancy there, right? And every time maybe you're making like an update of a version of WordPress, automatically it's gonna go ahead and make that backup. So you have different things here. You can go ahead and read that. But what we're gonna do, we're just gonna come up here, and usually the free version works great. You don't need to upgrade unless you really need all the features that they have mentioned there. Okay. So when we come up here, now it's letting us know what's going to be, basically it's asking us what's going to be the schedule of our backup for the files and the database. And most of the time, I would recommend for you to sync it, right? To sync, to have the backup happening for the files and the database to be all at the same time. Manual, we don't want to have it at manual, right? I don't really see what would be the case for it. To be really safe, we want to have it automatic, and we have several options here. Maybe at the beginning when you're really working on your website and you're really setting that up, you maybe want to do a backup every 2 hours just to be on the safe side. But later on, you could also switch and maybe move it to every 12 hours or daily. When your blog is established, you can just go ahead and do that daily, right? So this is what we have. We can leave it that daily over here. I think maybe the ones that was going to work most for most people will be every 12 hours or daily. And over here, we can retain several versions of those backups. So right now, it's only going to retain two versions of each backup. So basically, it's just going to go about 2 days of backup history, but you can increase it. So maybe let's say we move it to about seven backups over here. So we have about a week of backup history, or we can even go up to 14 days. We have about 2 weeks of backup history. Okay. So over here now, what it's gonna do is gonna let us know what are gonna be the options that we want to select for for the backup to be stored, right? The option that I use the most is gonna be Google Drive over here, because Google Drive, especially depending, maybe your backup is maybe apple.com, right? Let's say your WordPress is apple.com and you have an info at apple.com. But most of the time, what I also do, because a lot of the plugins, maybe some many other things, that has to do with WordPress and just website in general, will also recommend, and they're gonna have some type of login that has to do with Gmail. So even though my email has is apple, info at apple.com, I might have another email that I just created that's gonna be apple website at gmail.com, So for anything that has to do with different logins of Gmail, I'm gonna have you just go to that specific email, and the if customers need to email me, they can email me to that info@apple.com, right? So when you have that specific email for the website that you created here, there's a Gmail account, you can then use the Google Drive, and you could probably use your main Gmail account. I don't think that's gonna be an issue, but I just like to separate it. And the thing as well is, depending on how many websites that you're gonna have, those backups do take a lot of space, right? So if you have them in their own Gmail account, it's a little bit more, you it does that account is not gonna have a lot of space just for those Google Drive. But if you have one central one and you sync maybe five or six, seven websites of backup just to that main Gmail account, it's gonna fill up fairly, fairly quickly. So you have different options here, and you can go ahead and see the one that works for you. But like I said, the one that I use is Google Drive, and that's the one that we're gonna look at. So basically, when we select that, we could save the changes to let them know that this is the one we want, but it's gonna let us know over here that we need to sign it with Google, and it's pretty easy. If you already sign in there, I'm gonna click over here, and because I'm already signed in, it's gonna let me know just to go ahead and to accept the permissions over here. So I'm gonna go ahead and allow it, and over here is just letting me know that if I click on this button here, it's gonna take me back to the website where I was. I'm gonna click over here, and this is where we are now. So at this point over here, basically he's gonna create a folder in your Google Drive, and like I said, Google Drive comes with about 15 gigabytes of space, and is really generous. You could just use that for backup. So Google Drive has a Draft Plus folder here. At the moment it is empty. If I come back here, what we're gonna see is letting us know when is gonna be the next backup. What you're gonna see here, the time that is being shown here is UTC, right? On is UTC time for a lot of the server side time. Most of the time, server side, the time that servers usually use is gonna be UTC. For some reason, that's the one that they use. There is a possibility to change it, but most of the time you just leave it to UTC. So over here, and actually if I show you, so right now it's letting me know that we're May 15 at 5 p.m. If I come up here and I say UTC time, this is what we're seeing here, right? And basically it's letting you know this is the time right now, but on May 16th at 4:58, we're gonna go ahead and do a backup. Okay, so this is what it's letting us know over here. So now, and the backups are gonna show up here. If we want to do a backup now, we can actually do that. So let's say we work on something over here. It's gonna let us know: do you want to include the database? Do we want to include the files? Do you want to send this backup to the remote storage? Most of the time, I would just leave it as is. Those works well. You could also only allow that this backup to be deleted manually if you want that, but most of the time if I press delete here, I also want it to be deleted in a remote storage. So I'm gonna go ahead and click go ahead and backup. It's gonna go ahead and provide some the progress over here. You could also read a little bit of the steps over here that is going through, and when it's going to be ready, it's really fast. The backup is going to be available for you here. If I go back to where we are right now, and maybe I'll try to refresh, the backups as well are going to be available here. And what you're going to see, the way it's named allows you to really track it. So it's letting you know backup, this is the date over here, and you also have the time. So 1701, that will be the time provided. And over here you have basically the name of the website. So like I said, you could have several backups here. It's really not an issue because several backups from different websites. That's not going to be an issue because you can definitely track them, right? And if you look over here, so we have 9832 that is basically the link of our website over here, right? So that's the backup that we have. At some point, maybe you want to restore it. This is what you want to do. If you want to delete it, this is what you're going to use. Over here, if you just want maybe delete, you want to download part of the information that is in the backup. Maybe you want to download just the database and maybe work with it offline. This is basically what is going to allow you to do that. You can come over here, download the database over here. Okay, in this case I don't need that. I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna delete that. Okay, so with that said, now what we're gonna do, so this is what I recommend using for backup. Works well. And let me go ahead and just delete that. Like I say, I don't need that. So this is what I would recommend you to use. The other options, depending on your web host, your web host will probably have, or maybe as an extra, an option for you to back up your website. If they don't have it, then just use the Updraft Plus over here. But if they do, that could be as well another way to take advantage of a backup, right? So I'm using Cloudways over here, and the way it works is really seamless. You come up here, so right now I'm actually looking at this specific WordPress website. I can have several websites over here, and actually I have one server running. In that server I just have one website over here. So from here I can come up here to backup and restore. He's gonna go ahead and trying to see if there have been any backups that have already been done. And right now no backups were done, so I have no way of restoring, right? But I can come up here and actually take a backup, and that would be a backup just for that application that is being here, right? But in this case, it needs to be done manually. Every time maybe I'm working on something, like I say, if I just finished a blog there, I could run. I mean, with a blog, I think it's just excessive to go over here and do a backup. If you set up those automatic one, that works great. You don't need to worry about it. But it could be you work on something, you have a milestone and you want to save it, you're gonna come up here, or you could also do it here. But again, those two, you need to do that manually. What is great as well is WordPress allow you to back up anything. I'm saying WordPress Cloudways allow you to back up anything that is on your server. So your server over here can have, at the moment I just have one application running over here, but it could be on that server I can have 5 applications or 10 applications running, and instead of going to each application and taking a manual backup, I could set up a backup that's done on the server, and that's basically gonna have a copy at the same time of all the application that you have on that server. So over here as well, same thing, you have the possibility of you can actually take a backup now, a manual backup of that server. But what you're gonna find over here, you also can schedule backups. So we can schedule the time when the backup is going to happen. Again, we it's going to be your UTC time. If we come up here, we can have it every 12 hours or each day. At least a backup is going to happen. And again, we have a retention. It could be 1 week, 2 weeks, up to 4 weeks that we can retain it. The backups that are done over here are going to be done offline. So it's basically not on your server. They're not going to be saved on your server, but you have the possibility over here to have a local backup. So if we have a look over here, there will be an additional copy of your backup to your server that's going to be done, and you can download it. If you have access to FileZilla, you're going to be able to do it. But you need to keep in mind that it's only going to keep the latest backup um, of your basically of your server. So everything, if you want the retention, you're still gonna have it there, but all of those are gonna be I mean, if you want the option of having the retention there, it's not gonna be saved locally, it's gonna be saved offline. You're gonna be able to still retrieve it if you need to, right? So you definitely have a little bit more flexibility here, and you have different options to go ahead and set up those backups. So this is the way to set up backup on Cloudways. But like I say, your web host uh, might have a way to do that backup, and On Cloudways, it does cost a little bit extra. I can't remember how much it is, but it's not more than $1. I think it's like a few cents, maybe 30 cents or something that they add on top of it for you to be able to do those offline backups. Um, so look up your web host and see what option that you have. You might want to have at least two ways of backing up because again, the reason why over here you have the premium over here that is offering different option is maybe one of the backup options here is compromised, and even though it has been backed up, you're not able to retrieve it. That could happen as well, right? So that's why either you set up one over here and you're trying to see if your web host has a way to backup as well. You have redundancy there. You know it's in different places. You're able to go and retrieve it if you need to. So that's all I had for you. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. But I hope that this has been helpful.